So it is 6 o'clock, and I'm just going to pause that, and hopefully we can get started. Welcome to the webinar. Just need to check that we've got good sound. Yeah, I can see my sound coming through. Hopefully you can see my screen share that I'm using today. I've got my iPad screen here and my camera here, so you can see me and my Skoog. We'll get to that in just a minute. So thanks for attending. I do have a chat window open that hopefully won't interfere with the video too much. And I'll check on that periodically to see if there are questions. But also if there are questions, I'm going to pause and sort of make time at the end, because I might have to come out of this kind of screen share to see them. But right, off we go. So welcome. This is webinar focused on Skoog and uses that we've seen really useful and beneficial in sort of music therapy contexts. My name's Dr. Ben Shogler. I'm one of the founders of Skoog Music. I'm one of the inventors of Skoog. I'm with David Scalina. We launched the first Skoog back in 2010 after several years of embedded participatory research and gone on to keep evolving the technology. And it is all about making music more accessible to individuals who maybe don't have instrumental skills or are unable to access instruments in traditional ways due to either a disability or other kind of accessibility needs. So I want to make this webinar quite practical and give you an idea of sort of different ways that you can use this type of technology. But let's just introduce you to Skoog very quickly first. So this is a Skoog here. It's a soft, tactile, squeezy cube, essentially. And this is, in all essence, is a tunable pentatonic instrument, and can connect a whole orchestra of instruments that you can set up in that manner. Now, it has an app that comes free on an iPad. And let's just turn up the sound a bit here. So there we go. So I'm already connected in my app. It's very simple to connect it. There's just a button on the bottom of the Skoog, and you press it once to turn it on. Press it a second time to turn the Bluetooth on, then you just go here in the Skoog and follow the directions. So essentially I have 5 sides and I have a different note on each side. To recalibrate my Skoog there a little bit. So perfect. So I have a different note for each side. And it can be set up in a variety of different ways. You can use it with lots of different instrument sounds, any kind of MIDI sound you like. It has its own built-in synths. It's great for more expressive kind of polyphonic MIDI because it has this really tactile interface. It can also use samples and found sounds or vocal samples or recordings of voice, which can be also very engaging for individuals, particularly non-verbal clients who may be looking to connect with them in different ways. So I wanted just first to try and just give you a quick introduction to Skoog and how we've seen it used on these 3 different kind of groups. One just as more of a sensory music making resource, really about exploring sound in fun and playful ways. And then we're going to do a quick look at pentatonics, which is really the heart of Skoog and technology, and how it can open up that kind of co-improvisation and parallel play and those kind of things in that context, and then looking a bit more at one of the special features we have, which is working with playlists. So I am going to crack on that. So I have my Skoog set up. I have just a sort of standard iPad here. It's connected via Bluetooth MIDI. At the moment, it's playing a xylophone sound. Now, some of you, if you do have Skoogs, you might be saying, "Oh, how did you get a xylophone sound?" In the Skoog itself, it has some built-in synths. You see, there's a little guitar icon up in the top here, and it has a few built-in sounds there. I'm actually using Garageband for this sound, and in order to connect it to Garageband to use it with other instruments, and Garageband, remember, is free on iOS, all you have to do is tap this MIDI button and turn MIDI on, turn audio off, and then in Garageband I can select from any number of instruments. That I might want to. Okay, so I'm going to have it on Focus Plus now because I'm quite enjoying that as a way of playing. So the Skoog, in terms of the way it can afford exploration of sound, it's actually sensitive everywhere. which is a really important point, not just on these domed buttons. These are more like physical guides. They offer an interaction sort of possibility, if you will, and they invite you to press it. But actually, I can play it in lots of different ways. Put my chin. And for this type of kind of just playful exploring of sound, actually, I might change the sound because it's quite good to have something that has a more sustain, a sort of a broader sound, if you will. And actually, in Garageband, we've got a lot of great kind of expansive synth. So if we go to the Alchemy synth here, and let's get some pads here. Let's try something like, what did I have earlier that was already quite nice? Oh, I don't know. Epic cloud formation or something. So I'm able just to play away now. The point of this being that you can just invite interaction. It doesn't have to be accurate finger presses to play notes. It can be just touching it in some way with some part of the body and starting to explore sound with a client or with a student and play around with that. And that's really one of the kind of first things that Skoog offers in terms of interaction, is a playful approach to interacting with it. So unlike some potential classical instruments where you have to hold it in the right way or use the correct beat or technique, Skoog really can just be rolling around, touching it, sitting on the floor, getting close, using different parts of the body and starting to explore sounds. And don't forget that something like an iPad with Garageband gives you this enormous range of sounds, everything from a glockenspiel right up to a laser galactic interface of some kind. Now I just had something flash up here, more it says. Oh, on the chat. There's my chat. Someone's saying, I keep getting kicked out and have poor audio connection. If anyone is having problems with the connection, please do remember that we will record this and we can post it. We will be posting it afterwards and following up. So if you have got connection issues and are struggling with that, then please know we will be sending out a recording of the webinar. So this idea of just playing, you know, it's a friendly, fun cue, and it does invite kind of playful interaction. So even just letting individuals play with that, particularly maybe individuals who are non-verbal or don't have much language or have limited motor control and capacity, giving that opportunity to control a sound and explore it, and using some of these deeper kind of synth sounds that have kind of quite a few layers going on. So something like this. So I'm getting some polyphony as well. So it gives a real opportunity to get that tactile relationship with sound going. So just on the iPad app here, so let's have a quick look at the settings that I've got set up on this, because there's a lot of things that you can change and adjust with Skoog. Quick to mention as well, you can also use it with a mount if you want. I might show you how that works later. This is just a suction mount and it's very simple to use. Just suction onto a surface and that sucker goes onto the Skoog itself, and that allows you to fix it in position for a client. So if you were, you know, playing piano or you were playing guitar or another an instrument of your choice, an iPad or perhaps another Skoog, then you're able to fix a Skoog in an orientation that might be more accessible to an individual. So, you know, they do have to, it's fine just on a surface, but they may need it braced depending on their physical ability. So it's important to remember that you can mount it. So I'm just going to go through the settings we've got. So I've got a couple of questions here, which I'm going to deal with in a second, in terms of sensitivity and roughness. Okay, so this is perfect. You've spoken my mind. So in terms of pressure on the Skoog, so you can see, I mean, it can. There were two questions there. One was how sensitive can it be, and the other question was in relation to how sturdy is it. Let's start off with the sturdiness. So you can see I'm no wallflower. You can give it a good old squeeze, punch it, you can bounce it about. Now, there we go. So it's not indestructible. And after a rough handling, you may get there. You see it was kind of still resonating, so I had to press the orange just to kind of give it a shuggle. But it is very tough. It is wipe clean and can be cleaned with a simple wipe. Don't use anything with a bleach in it, but a standard antibacterial wipe will do for cleaning it. Very important in these times. And so it is not susceptible to drool or fluids, but don't immerse it in water. But the sensors are all bedded deep inside, so they're safe. This Skoog is a newer version than the old white one, which was susceptible to biting. This has a very tough skin on it. Here you can see, and that's really quite resistant. Although, you will have clients who have individuals or students that will put things in their mouths and they may well bite them. It won't, and this is fairly resistant, but it's not bite proof. It's important to note. So keep a track of that and how that's kind of how your students are using it. So it's very sturdy, but it is also very sensitive. So I seem to have got some sound going on here.
Battery medium.
My speaker. What's happened to my sound? Go. Turn that on. So in terms of sensitivity, now let's have a look at how you set that in Skoog. There's a little cogwheel here, and here I've got my sensitivity settings. So there are a couple of things that are important to note here. Normally, actually I'll turn this up, normally I would have my Skoog threshold set on about 3 or 4. And that's just for someone like me. I'm quite able and I'm wanting to kind of press it. So it's the actual amount of activity required to actually get a sound. So you can see actually that does at 4, does take a bit of a squeeze, although it is quite soft. But if I turn that threshold down to 1, so I barely need to compress the foam at all. So it's about between 350 and 500 grams of pressure at its most sensitive, which is when you have the activation threshold set low, the response set to high, and then obviously sensitivity set to high as well. So that's your maximum sensitivity, and I can just, with the weight of my hand. Now you will know that if you're poking with a finger, then it will take a bit more compression of the foam. But for those who've got limited movement, we suggest getting to lay their hands on the Skoog. Okay. Use the weight of the hands, and also depending on where you place the Skoog will make most use of what limited mobility an individual may have. Okay. Yes, it's just those 2 questions at the moment. So this is where you set the sensitivity settings. You can also adjust the kind of response of each side individually with a slider as well, if you want to customize that. Another thing you can do is you can turn sides on or off. So for some class activities, but also for some individuals, you might want to focus them on one particular activity. We've seen that in neuro rehab context in terms of trying to reach and press at least one side. If it's being used next to the body, you might want to turn the side that's going into the body off. So it's that's red for me. So now. So now I can grip it to my body and it's not playing the red, which is squeezed into me. So there's lots of different ways you can tweak the way it's set up. Another important element is in note settings, and I've got this one set into polyphonic mode. Now, an important thing with Skoog is you can't play opposites. So I can't play against myself like that, but I can play 2 at a time like that, or even 3. Okay? So you can get polyphony, but you can't physically play opposite yourself because the sensors inside do need to move just a little bit. So about 500 grams of pressure, which is the weight of a hand really. So yes, so moving on. So that's how sensitive it can be, and also you can maximize that sensitivity in terms of how the Skoog is placed in relation to into your user. For me, on a desk, that's great, but I'm already someone with limited ability to lift my hands up here and to get midline crossing going on and everything. That can be quite a challenge, and often we find that actually for individuals in a wheelchair or in a bed, actually presenting the Skoog lower down so they can use their hand without, or use a limb without having to work against gravity whilst using it, this is often something you do maybe with chimes as well, or other kind of percussion, is you're placing it within the range of movement that the individual has. So it's important to remember that. So it can be sensitive, it is very, very sturdy and very practical. So that's where we set the sensitivity settings in the Skoog, and it will always remember your most recent. So if you're using it and you shut it down, it will kind of load back up with the settings that you had previously. I've got a bit more. Yeah, so I'll answer those questions in a bit. Let's get this. So that's where we set the sensitivity in this section here, sensitivity and note settings. This guitar is where we can choose some of the individual synths that we have here. Okay, are built in, but remember, as I said at the beginning, you can always use it with an external speaker as well. And actually, and other apps. So we would recommend using apps like Garageband to really broaden the range of sounds you have, and actually to get some more traditional acoustic sounds, which sometimes can resonate really more directly with individuals. So something here in Garageband, let's have a look. And in Garageband, you go to the main categories, you go to other. Now here, something like the oboe here, then I forgot to turn the synth sounds in the Skoog app off. There we go. Now, okay, so it just depends what your preference is, whether you're into kind of more electronic sounds or you like more acoustic sounds. You can do all of that. If you're into more kind of acoustic kind of sounds, it's probably worth putting a little bit of reverb on some of the sounds in GarageBand, which you can do. I can look at that later. Just gives it a little bit more kind of room to breathe. So back to the Skoog here. So we've got an oboe on this Skoog, and it's very sensitive for me at the moment. So I'm going to change that down so that it's a bit more. Okay. So let's have a look at notes and how you set those, and then we'll get onto these applications. I don't want to spend too much time just focused on the basic technology. So this way, you've got a note here is where you set the notes and scales. Now, it has quick and easy settings for pentatonics, which we're going to come to in the sort of second phase of the webinar. But you can see here, you've got all your main modes, and you can higher octave is higher, lower octave is lower, and it always sets the notes up in the same way with the lowest on red, and then it goes clockwise up. So you can change that to minor. Okay, we can change the root. Quick, easy to set up. Now, if you want to set the notes manually and not for them not to be in a particular scale, just check the notes at the bottom there, and it brings up these little dial-in. So you just call the note name and number, and there you are. You set them however you want. I'm going to go back to scales here. I'm going to set 9 on an island major. So really, it's designed to be very quick and easy to set up, very easy to use with the sort of key pentatonic settings. And so the thing I wanted to introduce now, something that we've seen really useful over the years, is using it in a kind of sensory soundscape kind of way. And for that, what we would recommend is using it alongside an app called Bloom. So let's open that up. Now, Bloom is really interesting. So here's the icon for it. It says Bloom HD. So touch that. Here's the app here. The screen might go a bit strange, but that's fine. I'm going to go to listen. Now, Bloom, you'll start to hear these lovely pings, and you'll see the visuals going on. This is a generative music app. So what it does is creates this evolving soundscape, which is not rhythmically challenging. It doesn't have a rhythmic pulse, but it changes, evolves, and grows. And this can be a really great setting for initial interaction and exploring sound. But you need to make sure that the Skoog is set to the right notes. And as luck would have it, let's have a look here. We chatted to the guys at Bloom. I'm just going to pause that for a minute. The settings in Bloom are in this little corner here of the app, so let's pause it. So if you go to the Skoog website, let's find my Safari here and Skoog Music Support. So type in Skoog Music Support, go to our website. Here we go, and then scroll down, and I'm just going to go. There's lots of help on here. There's guides for the apps, tips to get you started, all these kind of things. I'm going to go into lesson plans here, and now if you scroll down here, there are a bunch of things you can download as well, really helpful. But what I was going to, where was it? Yeah, so Skoog and Bloom. So Skoog and that Bloom. So here we have a worksheet that shows you how to set up for Bloom and also how to set the key on Skoog to match with it. So there's different moods in Bloom that you can set, Neroli, and that says Mixolydian G. So let's try that with our Skoog. Minimize that so you can see my windows again. So I'm going to go to my Bloom app. I'm going to listen. I'm going to go in Neroli. Here we go. And then I want to play along with that. I want my Skoog set to G Mixolydian. So now. Adjust the balance of the Skoog in relation to other apps using this volume slider. I'm going to go back to my Skoog sounds. There we go. And this just gives a really safe space to interact. You know, you've got a palette of sound that's going to evolve and grow and change in the background. The Bloom app isn't free, but I would say it's only a couple of dollars, or $2.50, and it's worth every cent to get. You can also interact with the screen in the Bloom app as well, so you can have a combination of interaction going on. I like to use it in just listen mode, and you can use it with any one of these kind of sound sets that is available in the app. So that is a really, you know, if you have an iPad and you're able to get a Skoog, we're actually, I have a link that I can share in the chat a bit later, which will enable, that has got a link to buy, which we're doing a bit of a discount at the moment. Or if you have a Skoog, use it with an iPad, then I really recommend you get Bloom as an app as well, because it does offer this really quick way of providing a lovely soundscape, a really sensory environment. And with the worksheet that we have, that you're able to tie Skoog in directly, and you know, obviously use other instruments or other apps if you're able to access the note settings for that, and get involved in with it, but without the challenge of a particular rhythm or anything like that. So it's really, really successful, and can be a great icebreaker for new clients or for a session, or just a really lovely way of engaging in exploring sound together. Good to explore with the different synth sounds in Garageband as well, to see how they can fit and mix in different ways. So yeah, I would strongly recommend that. So that was the kind of first element around sensory kind of play. You don't need to use the Bloom app. You could just, you know, do things with Skoog in terms of just really exploring free play, getting Skoog on the, you know, getting down on the ground and sitting with it. And certainly in the early research phase, we spent a lot of time with individuals in schools and in wards and various places, and really spent a lot of time on the floor with kids, rolling the Skoog around, playing it, you know, playing it in different ways, but really just exploring the playing of sound. And when you have that available to you, it's amazing how it opens up that relationship and really facilitates this kind of creative improvisation and co-improvisation, which is what I wanted to move into next on the Skoog. But just firstly, what we're going to do is going to have a look and see in the chat if there are any more questions. So a couple on here. So yeah, I've covered if the Bloom app is free, and I think Bloom is, oh, Rita, thanks. Rita has put up the link in terms of purchasing, so that's great. The Bloom app, I think, is available in other languages, but I would have to check on that, and we can put that information available in a follow-up. I'm pretty sure it is translated. It's quite a widely used app. This is again, slightly older version, but the name of the moods, the layout might be slightly different on a new version of Bloom, but the name of the moods will be the same, so the key information will be the same. Great. So moving on now. So back to my Skoog app here. I suppose last little other question that is in the chat there. So I've just been asked, are you able to switch your audio mic settings to enable original sound? I'm not really sure what that means. In order for me to be able to get the sound from the iPad and be able to talk to you at the same time, I'm using a sort of ambient mic setting. If it's distorting, what I'll do is I'll turn the sound down a bit so it's at a lower level. Hopefully that might help, and apologies if there are sound issues. This is a setup that has it's in the advanced, there we go, but advanced audio settings. Well, I think I probably have to come out of the share in order to do that. I'm gonna run with it just now, also because I'm not sure what original sound may be. Just for clarity, the sound isn't coming from the iPad into the computer. It's just coming over the mic. I don't have the sound lined into the computer for this. So moving on. So looking then at going from just allowing sort of free exploration of sound and then thinking more about improvisation and co-improvisation. Don't need to spend too much on time on this, obviously with an educated range of attendees like yourself in terms of therapy, but obviously with the pentatonic settings, Skoog is absolutely perfect for co-improvisation. It can be, it can work with your instrument, with piano, with other acoustic instruments, percussion, or it's something, because of the three-dimensional nature of it, one of the really unique things with Skoog is something that you can play with someone else in a really free way, in the way that perhaps a violin or a flute or piccolo you can't. So, this is something you can sit between two individuals on the floor or on a table or a desk, and one can play and another can copy. And explore and expand, and just that physical nature of it being a 3D interface versus a 2D kind of flat interface really facilitates that kind of sharing where two people can play one thing, or you can have more than one Skoog if you like. And one of the great things with that, particularly say working in the context of autistic clients, is having the same interface means that you can show by doing, you can play, and an individual can watch you. And for that, I mean, with a single interface as well, you can do a lot of hand-over-hand interaction to help orient around the device. It's important to note it does have a kind of tactile sort of orientation marker, like a rail marker on the bottom, and that is for individuals who have a visual impairment, being able to know which way around it is. So that's always under the yellow side, or the front side, front, back, left, right, depends how you want to name them. And that means that individuals who have a visual impairment can can always know how it's set up. So for those kind of improvisation settings, the pentatonic settings are brilliant and perfect for that. And so if you know what key you're working in, then you can simply set it to the key and you immediately enable individuals to improvise. The call and response playing with someone else is a really nice game as well, a really nice way of playing, in that without talking, you can just show by doing, and just by playing a pattern and inviting a response. And you'll find often that younger users will, where they can, copy that pattern, and then you can, as soon as you've brought them into that, then you can start to create an exchange, and you start to evolve that, you imitate and elaborate, and you have this beautiful melodic co-improvisation evolving. So it is certainly that improvisation side of it is really at the heart of Skoog and how it was designed and built to facilitate that. Great with more than one, but also great with one, depending on what your facilities are. I just want to share with you as well another resource that we have. So on the Skoog music support site, let's go back here. So another resource that we have, again in lesson plans here, with that, going down here, is a pentatonic keys kind of guide. And this is a really useful worksheet in that it gives you a quick way of looking up what pentatonics are compatible with what. So if you have other tuned instruments that you work with, or say you're working in C major, you can use D minor, E minor, F major. Obviously, we all know our keys and how they fit together in our music theory perfectly. Look at the beautiful symmetry of that, speaking somewhat to the mathematical kind of relationships between notes. But anyway, I digress. This is really handy to be able to quickly look up what key you can use with a key or with other keys, and it gives you a bit more range to play around with different types of sound and different ways to use that. Great. So that was just a quick note on that. I suppose one way of using this kind of pentatonic side, the improvisation side, if you maybe you're not a skilled musician, and maybe you're coming at this from the point of view of an assistive technologist or a teacher, then really simple things like going on YouTube. Let's have a look here. Did I have a YouTube window ready? Yeah, so here, let's go. Oh no, not that one. Yeah, and go to YouTube, and here I put in Gymnopédie number 1. This is what we were playing at the start. So I don't think you'll be able to hear this from the laptop because the sound is sort of disabled in a way. But I can play that on here. And if I simply just Google, and go, what key one? Here, the first thing comes up is D major. Now there are different versions, but let's go here and let's Spotify. I had that on there. Let's play that. Okay. Now in Skoog, I go here and I go to major and D. Oh, you can't see because I've got that up in front of the. Apologies for this. It's a screen share. Okay, so here I just went to the key, changed it to D and major, and now let's go up that octave. And you're free just to play. So obviously if you have the benefit of having your skills and your instrument there, then you can do that. But you can access this kind of free improvisation playing just with pre-recorded music, which is a really great feature as well. So I'm just going to pause for a minute and just check in the chat, see if there are any questions as well that have come up. So Sturdy, I work with blind visual pairs, and the older version, larger class, I work great. Is that still available? It's no longer. You do have some units, and it can be available. I would. Yeah, we often have this question. We find that the relationship between the touch and the sound is strong enough, but and the contrast is good on the black with the colors. And we find that works really well still with children with visual impairments. Also, some people have applied some stickers here and there, but I would say it's worth giving the new Skoog a go, and because the really strong relationship is between the sound and the touch. And obviously, if that's augmented with color, that can be really, really useful. Just on the move from the white with the colored buttons to this, we found that the white Skoog was a bit of a Marmite, or it split the crowd. Some people loved it, and some people felt it was too childish, particularly for the range of ages that they were working with. And we found that the black Skoog really cuts across really all age ranges, and can be very engaging for young users, but also really great for older clients, teenagers, adults, who with the original Skoog, they felt that was a bit childish for them. And whilst often if you could engage them with it, they would enjoy that. But this is something that people are more comfortable with. So I would recommend giving it a go in that sense. And please do email any questions that you would like answered and discuss further in terms of different applications like that. There's another question here that says, can you record what you're playing on the Skoog in the Garageband app? Yes, you can. If you have the Skoog set to use MIDI, where it sends the MIDI out from the, so here I'm playing that oboe in GarageBand. So in GarageBand now I'm sending MIDI to GarageBand, so I can open up GarageBand. Let's try something different. Let's try a crazy synth. Let's do that, and now I fancy some deeper notes. So let's change my notes. Let's go them down a bit. Okay, and then to record, simply press record and turn off the metronome. And there we go, record it. We'll go back to the beginning and play that back. You can see that we have, there's the recording of it. We'll go back here. For some reason the sound's not coming out, but you can see there the MIDI recording of the track, probably to do with where I've got the sound routed. So that makes that, you can record very, very easily. And does the Skoog work without the iPad, or do you have to use the iPad to make? Yes. So in terms of the Skoog is a controller, a Bluetooth MIDI controller with a range of sensors in it and this lovely tactile feel, but it does need to be connected via Bluetooth to the iPad in order to work, to make the sound. So it's a controller that interfaces with the iPad, and it can also work with a Mac. This version of the Skoog isn't compatible with PC, with issues around Bluetooth MIDI. The old Skoog, the white one, still runs on some Windows systems, but that is via a USB connection, is wired to that. So where are we at now? 22. So I just want to move on to, I'm going to just minimize this chat window for a minute. And yes, I would say the Skoog, well, the Skoog's currently $199, £179. There is actually, there's, if you see in the chat window, place it again, the Accessible Tech and yes are doing a special in terms of price, in terms of how much it is. It's 190. And I would say that this version of Skoog is very much appropriately used with clients of all ages. And that's something I want to do on the last little section. So we've looked at sort of sensory resources. We've looked at using it in terms of pentatonics and improvisation. We've had a little look there at recording on GarageBand, which hopefully immediately would open the mind to think, well, you know, maybe we could use this in all kinds of ways with people to do all kinds of things. So let's there we go. Okay, getting some different sounds up. There we go. So the thing I want to show you now and share with you very quickly is this idea of working with playlists, and I think that's so either can you play with your iTunes music, and is it considered appropriate for people of all ages? Now this is something that we developed whilst we were working through with individuals, working with Skoog One and working with therapists and a range of users. And we, you know, what a lot of people wanted to do with the Skoog was be able to enable clients to play with music they wanted to listen to be able to play along with AC/DC, or to be able to play along with, you know, music of their choice. So what we're, you know, you can do things where, like I did, you could look up on YouTube, you know, what keys something in, or look up online. But that's quite a lot of effort, and sometimes, particularly when you're peripatetic or you're visiting someone, you're trying to get something happening quite quickly, and that window you have to engage with a client is very narrow sometimes, and if you don't want to waste too much time getting things set up. So what we did is we worked with iTunes and Spotify to enable this new feature in Skoog. So got my Skoog here. I'm going to go back to Skoog sounds for a minute, just for a change. What have we got here? So what's that? So I'm going to change the octave there to give me something a bit. There we go. Now, you'll see here in the Skoog app, there's a little sort of iTunes icon in the middle of the screen. I touch that, and this opens up access to music libraries. So I can go into my iTunes library or my Spotify it connects to. For iTunes, it has to be songs that are actually downloaded to the iPad. So they have to be available offline. And what we do is the app will automatically tune the Skoog to the song. And this is a fantastic resource, I think, in terms of players. So being able to say to a client or to ask them to an older teen or a young adult or older to say, well, let's have a look at music you like. Let's have a look at music on one of your playlists. So they could sign into their Spotify account if you wanted, or you could just ask them. So I'm signed into my Spotify account here. It's going to ask me to log in very quickly, hopefully very quickly. Yes, there we go. Yes, and I agree. All we're doing is just connecting the two apps. So now in my music library in Spotify, I can see all of my playlists. So you can use, the questions come up, so you can use an Apple Music account, but you just need to make the songs in Apple Music available offline. So I have lots of songs that I do that with. You can't stream directly, but you can stream with Spotify. So we'll start with Spotify and then I'll talk a bit more about Apple Music, but it does work with both. So here, let's, where I was gonna look for a particular, I had a playlist set up here. Where is it? It should be Bedford. You can see Bedford. There, Bedford. And I can choose a track. So here, how about Don't Worry, Be Happy? And it's set the key here. Oh, make sure it's definitely set the key. Not sure if did I have automatic. So in order for this to work, you see here, I didn't have automatic key detection turned on. So even though it's selected the key, it wouldn't have put it right. So let's turn that on. I'm actually going to quit the app and start it again, just to make sure everything is right. There we go. It's just calibrating. So going into my music, Spotify, Bedford. Here we go. So that's it's such a great application of the technology. Be able to link to someone's individual playlists and tune the device so that they're free to improvise with that. It's very handy to be able to look and examine the keys as well. I would say that, so with Spotify, it allows you to stream the track. So you do have to be connected to Wi-Fi, as you would be with Spotify normally. So the benefit on the Apple Music side, I don't think I've got my iTunes set up on this. Do I have any songs on this? No, I've just got that one there. So I don't actually have this link to my Apple Music account, but if you have music downloaded, so it will work with Apple Music. You just have to, when you have tracks or even playlists, just say make available offline on the iPad, and then they will feed into the iPad and you can use it with that. So it will work with an Apple Music account. This is a different iPad than normal. So I'm an Apple Music more than a Spotify user myself, but often we find it swings the other way. So we just wanted to show the Spotify side as well. So that's kind of, I think, the kind of three main kind of use cases I wanted to sort of show, from a very, very simple sensory stuff through to looking at co-improvisation and using pentatonics, and then looking at something more, not so advanced, but a little bit more in depth in terms of using clients' own playlists and be able to tie into that. So that's the main core of the webinar. Another quick thing, because we do have a little bit of time, you just keep an eye on if anyone has any more questions, put up in the chat. Please do. That's what it has. You don't have an iPad or Mac, as you can see. So it will work with a Mac as well, which I could have a look at in a bit. But something else I want to show you on the iPad first. Like I say, Skoog 1 does still work with some PC systems. Are there any donation grant programs arranged by Skoogs to music therapists? Any current research projects for some get Skoog? I'm not sure on that. I will certainly do some reaching out and asking. It's certainly, we have a lot of individuals who have applied for grants individually with local authorities or arts organisations to get Skoog to support their work. So it's worth doing a few Googles and seeing what comes up. So one last thing I want to show you on the technical side, and this just whilst we're all connected, I think this is really important. So one of the other things that we found, other uses cases we found, was using it with recorded sounds. There's something that was particularly popular with Skoog 1, the sampling side. And so we have built a sampling app for Skoog 2. Where is it? This is what's going to tell me it's not on. I wasn't planning to show this app, so it may not be. I'll just download it very quickly if it's not here. There we go. It's called Scratch. Skoog Scratch. There we go. It wasn't on here, but I'll just download it quickly. So this is a bespoke sampler for the Skoog device. So let's open this. So now I'm just going to turn off my Skoog app in the background. These other ones. Now, there we go. Now to connect, it's already connected, but there's a PDF guide on the website for Scratch, the app. Here I'm already connected. That's good. So there's that window. So what you have here is a sort of colored tile per side. And very easy. I can just shh, ooh. And so now simple as that. Really easy. You can save these sample sets. So this is great. You can actually take the iPad out, or you can use this app on an iPhone. You can go out and collect sounds. This is fantastic for individuals who maybe don't vocalize much, being able to record their vocalization and amp it up and put it onto a device where they can control it. And that's incredibly empowering and really connects. You know, that the power of the human voice is such a powerful thing. It's amazing how it can connect and get across boundaries. But giving individuals who maybe don't have the power to use their own voice ability to control some sound of their own, that can be really powerful. So this is a really great app for that. This could, it can be sound effects, it can be animal sounds, it could be phonemes, it could be all sorts of stuff. So I just wanted to very quickly say that again is free alongside the Skoog main Skoog app. So let's have a look. We've got another couple of questions coming in. So actually, very quickly, so for those of you asking, sometimes you may get a kind of what's like a hung note like that. And so when I opened it up, it was like playing. To stop that, usually all you need to do is either tap the side that's got the sound coming out of it when it's not being touched, or press the corresponding side on the Skoog. And then it's usually useful to recalibrate. There's just a button on the screen that says calibrate. But as with technology, sometimes numbers get stuck in the machine, as it were, and sometimes you just need to touch it to clear those out. Let's have a look here. There's another couple of questions. To use 2 Skoogs, do you need 2 iPads, or do both run off the same app on the iPad? Unfortunately, the iPad can only run 1 Skoog at a time, so you would need 2 Skoogs, or there is an iPhone version of the app as well. The iPhone version of the app has some reduced functionality, but you can still, on an iPhone connected to a decent speaker, you can use it with Garageband. You can access the Pentatonic tunings and the sensitivity settings and those kind of things. Do you have any other resources and materials for active music making or assistive technology? Thanks again. It's worth looking at our webinars. We do a range of different webinars on Skoog, and also there's a couple on more sort of general using technology and accessible kind of music making in the classroom. So we'll mail out some links to our previous webinars with some more information, but also keep an eye on the mailing list and follow up with us, email us, and let us know. I think one thing that I wanted to ask, I'm not sure how many people are still on the presentation, but if there are particular things that you would like to know more about in terms of technically, and if you or maybe you currently have a Skoog and you're thinking, well, I want to get more out of this, saw a few things there that were interesting, but I could do with a bit more help, then please email us at ben@skoogmusic.com or info@skoogmusic.com, or just go to our website and you can there's a live chat in there. You can post things and let us know what you want to know about, and we'll set up one of these webinars again. We do webinars regularly, but it's always good to have direction from you guys in terms of what features you would like to know more about, what things you feel you could do with more help with, and what content you feel we could do with developing to help you do more things with it. So will I be able to share a copy of the video or parts of it? Yes. So that was Karen Widrick. So we will be, the webinar has been recorded. We will be posting up a link to view it, so you will be able to access that from tomorrow once we send that out. So if you don't get the link, do follow up by email, but we'll be sending that out to everyone who is a part of the webinar. Now, just checking, are there any other questions? Got another couple in here. So yes, the two, you can't, in order to use more than one Skoog, you do need to have more than one iOS device. However, one thing you can do, just very quickly to show you, it's quite useful. So get rid of Scratch there for a minute. So here, oh, I need to reconnect because I was connected there by Skoog. So now I have my Skoog playing. Now, one other thing that I could do is I can then go to something like Garageband, or let's go to Garageband. Another little cool thing you can do on Garageband is you can set the keyboard on Garageband to make it a pentatonic keyboard. So not like that. Where is it? Scale here. So where it says scale, I can put it on major pentatonic, and then I'm also in, I think I'm in D major, right? Am I in D major? I'm in B major. So with that in mind, if I go here, and then in the settings for the song, if you say key, let's make that major, B major, like that. Now I've got my so you could have an individual playing a pentatonic keyboard set up in GarageBand, as well as your playing the Skoog itself. So don't remember, in the chat I've got pasted up here the link to go to get more information and find out about the discount that we're offering. It's accessible-tech.org, Skoog product for music therapy, but the link is in the chat there. And we'll also be sending that out with details after the webinar. What else have we got here? Where did you get your shirt? Well, to be fair, it's a company called Mr. Goo, and they do fantastic sweatshirts. So I can share that with you as well. But it's just GUGU, Mr. Goo. They do great sweatshirts, but you do have to wait for them. They make them to order, so they're not. You have to wait 2 or 3 weeks after doing that, so that you don't get the immediate purchase satisfaction. So another question here, what app was that again to record your voice? That app is called Scratch. So it's Scratch for Skoog. Ooh, where do we go here? Scratch for Skoog. Let me just show it to you on the iPad screen again, very quickly. Here we go. So the icon, show it to you here. This iPad is very strange. There it is. So if you see in the bottom here, see next to GarageBand is a sort of black Skoog with a little wavy line on it. That's the icon for Scratch, and that's the app there, Skoog Scratch. And that's it for today. Please do email us with any questions, any follow-up that you want. We will be following up with some downloads that are related to those activities that we were showing. Do get in touch. Follow up on the landing page. You know, we have got this discount at Accessible Tech at the moment, where you can get a discount on Skoog. And also, very quickly, for those of you that are mobile, many therapists are and need to get about, then we also have these handy carry cases for Skoog, which are a really nice thick neoprene. It's a Skoog, and you fit a couple of cables in there. Very, very snazzy. And those are just $20 odd, and they're available from Accessible Tech and from us as well. So we can email links out for these as well. It makes it very easy to transport your Skoog and get around and take this little orchestral wander places and have fun and connect, make music. And yeah, so that's us for now. I'm going to sign off. It's 5 to the hour, unless there are any more questions. I guess there we go. That's nice. Someone saying that I think that'd be helpful to get some more out of their Skoog. So do email us if you have a Skoog and you feel like there's features that you want to know more about, or things you are thinking that you can kind of do this, kind of that. Then do email us, let us know, get involved in the chat, and see what we can do. I'm glad that you found this very useful. And I suppose last thing is just hope everyone is safe and well. Stay safe in these strange times. Look after each other, and look out for our next webinar. Thanks very much for joining us.